Hey everyone, I'm here with Nakanakari. We are going to show you how to create a score for your tickets. So the idea here is to use more than one field and calculate a score, and based on that, show if it's a high score or low score, and then use the color conditioning to just highlight the important things that you need to add for your process. And we will also show you a little bit about the app itself, how to build it, how to calculate this kind of scores, and the idea behind the app. So, Fernando, uh, how does it work? And when should we use this kind of process?
Cool. So the idea behind this is basically to give you guys an example of how to set things up in Gesture so you can have scores and have like a way of sorting out what's important, what's not important, and so on. So we're doing this in this template as support tickets, but it doesn't have to be support tickets. You could have the same system for product
Leads, for
development.
example,
So
right?
you Exactly. So you could have this for product development, so you know which tasks are more important than the others. You could have, like Bruno said, for leads. So if a lead is created and they have like X, Y, and Z traits, you know that they are more likely to convert than others. So you prioritize them. You could have this for all sorts of things inside your company. We're doing this for support tickets, which is an example that's a little bit more concrete, a little bit more familiar to most companies. But the idea here is not to focus on the support ticket part itself, though this template is fully functional. It has like email connections and so on. But the idea here is to show you guys how you would set this kind of score system, and then you can modify it to be anything you want. So if you want to use for leads, if you want to use for product development, if you want to use for support tickets, you're free to do so. You only need to modify the variables that you want to use. So the idea behind this is that in this specific template, we're keeping track of three things basically, right? So the client that opened the support ticket, so you could have different scores for different clients. So maybe you have a client that's your main client and you want them to have more priority. So if they open a ticket, they have to be pushed up in priority. You can have a score for specific clients. The second thing that we're keeping track of here is category. So if you have like in this example bug, finance, and support, you can have different scores for them. I'm going to show you guys how it works. So the idea behind this is that maybe like regular support tickets is something that you're not kind of keep tracking of, you're keeping track of, but it's not as urgent as someone sending something like my whole system is down, there's a bug, or I haven't received my invoice, or the platform is saying that I haven't paid but I have paid. So you have kind of different priorities. Some things you have to solve a little bit faster than the others. So you could also have a score specifically to these categories. So this is the second thing that we're keeping track of, and the third thing that we're keeping track of is naturally time. So when you open a ticket, so you open today, they may not be as urgent, but as time goes on, the total score is going to keep increasing. So if a ticket is open like a week ago, and they're kind of like in a low priority category, they're from a client that doesn't have like high priority, but just for the fact that this ticket has been open for a week pushes it up, and now it sort of becomes like a high priority ticket. So total score here is a combination of those three things. So client, category, and time, since the ticket has been opened. And after you have this total score, you can do all sorts of cool things here. So for example, you can see on screen that high priority tickets are colored red, so it's immediately obvious which ticket I should be solving first, right? But one thing that you guys may not have noticed is that the Kanban board is also sorted by priority. So a higher score is going to push the cards up, and a lower score is going to push the cards down. So I'm going to show you guys how it works. And then for the rest of the template, we have the usual stuff that you guys see in every live stream that we do. So we have the filter bar, so we can search for a specific client. We have category. We can push this, click on this button to only see urgent tickets. So there you go. So this was the only one that was red, like high priority, and it's the only one that uh, keeps on screen as soon as we click on this button. So I'm going to simulate a couple of scenarios here, and then we're going to show you guys how this was built. It's actually quite a simple structure, but it's a very powerful structure that you can use for lots of different things. So I think it's going to be useful across multiple scenarios. So two things that I want to simulate here before we delve in. How does this work? So you can see here that we have this ticket. Let's see the one below. So it's support, it's Andrew, and the total score is 80. So I'm going to open this ticket, and then we can use the regular tools of Jasper, right? You can have you can comment on the ticket. You can send emails to the client through the ticket. So this is activated here as well. But the thing that I want to bring attention to is that I'm going to change the ticket date. So in a regular scenario, you wouldn't do this. You would always use the date of the ticket creation. Uh, but I'm going to simulate this, so I'm going to change the date in which the ticket was created. So instead of April 1st, let's imagine that this ticket was open like March 20, right? So it's way older than right now. So you can see that the screen has updated. This ticket went from 80 to a total score of 320. And two things happened. It was colored red because it passed a certain threshold. I'm going to talk about this threshold as well. And it was pushed up. It was below this finance ticket, but because the total score has increased, it was pushed above it. So you can kind of see that in this template we have this dynamic dashboard in which depending on the score, multiple things are going to happen. You go sorting. The sorting of tickets is going to change. The color of tickets are going to change, and so on. And this is going to change based on time, category, and client. Um, the other thing that I want to simulate here is that I'm going to open a new ticket just so you guys can see it. So I'm going to simulate it. There are multiple ways to open tickets, right? So I'm opening through the dashboard. This could be a public form in your website, or clients could send an email to the email feature of Jasper, and this would open a ticket automatically. I'm just simulating this. So I'm going to go with bug. I don't know. So dashboard doesn't load, and I'm going to simulate this as Andrew opening this ticket. So Andrew is a client that we already have in the database, right? So if I look here, I have Andrew, and his email is andrew@email.com. So I'm going to simulate opening the ticket as Andrew. The description is going to be blah blah, and he could send attachments and so on. And like I said, we're going to simulate the ticket date just so we could do this more dynamically on the live stream. The idea here is that you would use the records date, like when it was created. So let's pretend that Andrew opened this today. So April 4th. So we're creating this, and the first thing that happens here is that Andrew, there's no client here, but you can see that it automatically fetched Andrew from the database because it's searching for his email, and it attributed a score. So this template also has this automatic way of pulling clients from the database based on their email. So if they send an email, if they use the form in your website, it's automatically going to assign to the correct client. Okay, so how does this template work? How would we build this from scratch? We're not going to build everything. We're just going to give some highlights of the features that we're using. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the clients. So we have a database for the clients. It's named client score. the clients have a name, so that's the standard field inside Gesture, right? The title. They have a number field for score. So what I'm doing here is attributing a like arbitrary score for each client. So you can see that Andrew is 10, Barbara is 25, Charles is 15. So the idea here is that the higher the score of the client, the more priority they're going to receive when we're solving tickets, right? And then we have the email of the client, and this is being used to fetch the client automatically by email, which is something that I've just shown you guys right now. So you can see that this is a very basic structure. It's very simple to build. You could have more information, you could add more fields, you could add address, phone, and so on. But for the purposes of this template, you don't need any of that. So the second thing that we have here is database for categories. So why is this a database? Why is this a table and not like a single option field? And the thing is, if I use a single option field, uh, all the information that I have in the single option field is just the name of the category, right? Because it's just an option. It's finance, it's bug, and so on. But by using a database, by using a separate table, I can have the name, the title of the category, so finance, bug, sport, and so on. But I can also have all this additional information that I can use in automations, I can use in formulas, and so on. So for the category, we have score as well. So it's the same logic as the client's database. The higher the score of the category, we have a more prioritized category. So in this case, you can see that support is like a low priority. Finance
So
is
in this case, it's not
medium
even a
priority.
score; it's a weight, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a weight. This is going to be used in a formula field later to calculate the total score. You're totally right. You can think of this more of a weight than a score. So you have the title, you have the weight or score here, and then finally we have the ticket queue database. So this is the table for all the tickets. So we're going to explain everything that's happening here. So we have the title of the ticket, right? And we have description, email of the client, and attachments. All of this is here because we're using the email feature of Jaster. So if you want to talk to the clients, we need this field. So I'm just going to show you guys how you would set this up. But basically, we have the table email. It's one of the tools here inside Jester, inside the database. And you can activate a table email and assign a specific email address for that table. So if a client send an email to this email address, it's going to automatically create a record inside here. And this is just like the pairing of fields, right? So the subject of the email is going to go to the title field, the body of the email to description, and so on. So this is why we have these fields here, and mostly because they're useful fields generically, right? It's not specific for this template.
Show them also how
Okay.
to add a view for this table, because the app could just be a view of the table as well, just to show the other way around.
Yeah, cool. So one thing that I can do now is click on views, and add a separate view here. So you can see that it's pulling apps in actually components from apps that I've already created, or I could create a different view. So for example, I could create a new Kanban view, but in this case, I already have a Kanban board for this process. It's this one in dynamic queue. So it automatically detects that I have this, and then I can just go to it, for example, and add it to the table. So if I go back here and click here on dynamic queue, I think I pulled a, yeah, no, that's right. So it's getting information from this component that I already have here. So we could always have the table and then a specific app that I'm pulling information from. So we could have this all centered on just on the table, right? Okay, I've talked about title, I've talked about description, email, and attachments. There's also a single option field for status, and you can see that this is just a field that I've created to set the Kanban board's columns, right? So I have status, I have triage, in progress, done, and if I look at this, those are the columns from the Kanban board. So this is why this field exists. And ticket date is the date of creation of the ticket. This is only used in this live stream for simulation purposes. You would use date of creation of the card, the record, which is assigned automatically, right? Okay, so now onto the more important parts of the structure, which is a little bit more complex, but it's still quite easy to understand, which is category, client, and the total score, right? We've talked about how clients have a score or a weight. Categories also have a score or weight, and basically what we did was create connections to those tables. So if I click here on edit this field, you can see that this field is a connection to the categories table, right? So I can select a record from this table. So this table here, they are connected, and instead of using a single option field, I'm connecting and selecting a specific row, a specific record from this table. And I've also done the same thing for client. And this is important because when I connect this information, like I said before, there's additional information here. I'm not just selecting Andrew. I'm selecting Andrew, but inside this field, there's all the information from Andrew. There's Andrew Smith, there's the score, there's the email, so I can use this later. And then I have the total score, which is a formula. Now, we've written a formula just for example purposes. It's just to show you guys you would probably use a different formula. You would probably use different weights, a different equation here. But it's just to show you guys one way to do this, right? So the formula is quite easy, actually. I'm going to break it down in parts, right? So the first thing that I'm calculating here, so let's break it down here. I'm going to delete some stuff. So here, the first part is basically I'm pulling information from the category and from the client. So you can see those variables. I just selected them from the variables table here. And you can see here the thing that I said before, because this is a connection, I have here client, I have the client's name, I have the client score, the client email, so I can use this information, right? So basically the first part of the formula is a sum of the client score, the client weight, or and the category score or category weight. So basically, in the case of Andrew Smith, what I'm doing here is getting his score, so it's 10, and because this is a bug, the score here is 30. So we can say that this ticket has a base weight, base score of 40, which is 30 plus 10, right? So basically, I'm just adding the client weight and the category weight. So this is the first part of the formula. The second part of the formula is this one. So after I have this base weight, I'm multiplying by the difference between now and when the ticket was created, right? So we have this function. You can search for the functions in the variable table here as well, the box. So we have this function to calculate the difference in days between now and a specific date field here inside gesture. So we're calculating the difference between the this moment and when the ticket was created, and we're also adding one. Why is this important? Because if the ticket was open today, the difference between today and today is zero. So this ticket would have a value of zero. I would multiply it by zero. So I'm always having at least a multiplier here of one. If it's open today, it's one. And you can see that this is what's happening, right? So the base of category plus client was 40. This was open today. So 40 times 1, the total score is 40. So if I moved one more day here, let's move it. So if it was opened yesterday, it will be 2 days. So total score goes to 80. So basically, what I'm doing here is I'm giving the ticket a base weight, which is category score plus client score, and I'm multiplying by the number of days passed since the ticket was opened. Again, this doesn't have to be the way that you do this. You could have a different equation, you could have a different formula, but it's a neat way to do this, and it's useful in general, right? So time ends up being a big factor here. But of course, you could give less importance to time, but we like the idea of like the older the ticket gets, the more important it gets as well. Okay, so the last part of the equation here
And for
is
leads could be the opposite, right? Because maybe a lead that you don't talk, I don't know, it has been 6 months, it doesn't have the same impact for your business that a lead that you just talked to, like, I don't know, last week.
exactly. Yeah, it could be the complete opposite. So if you're looking at a table of leads, like a lead from 6 months ago, it's a cold lead. It probably doesn't even remember your company anymore. So he's way less important than someone who just filled out the form. So today, the day that the lead fill out the form or sent an email to you is the most important day, right? So you could have just like the opposite structure, but the logic is the same. The way that you build this is the same. And the last part here is this part, which basically I'm seeing if the ticket is already finished. If status is done, I multiply everything by 0. And if it's not done, I multiply everything by 1, because I don't want old tickets that are here in done to be like urgent forever, right? I don't want them to be colored red forever. Otherwise, everything in this column would be red. So you can see here that if I just drag this to done, it's going to detect that it's done. It's going to multiply by 0, and the ticket is back to regular again. So it doesn't have a score anymore. Again, this is just one way to do it, but that's a cool way to do it. So this is the idea. So the idea is to build a formula based on connected information to assign a total score to the ticket. So basically, you could have a different equation here, but the logic would be the same. So just to show you guys, this is the most important part. So we're going to talk about what we're doing with this information, right? So I'm going back to the candidate board. I'm going to activate builder mode. There you go. And now I'm going to look at the Kanban board. So I'm going to edit this, and you guys are going to see a couple of things here. First of all, I have a sorting order. So this is optional, but in this case, it's useful. What I'm doing here is I'm selecting the field total score, and I'm saying that I'm sorting them by highest scores first. So basically, what this is doing is pushing the more important cards, the cards with a higher score, up. Right? If I use this sentiment here, you would see the opposite, right? So you would have lower score tickets up top, but this wouldn't make any sense. So we're going to go with this sentiment. So I'm able to use the total score formula as a way to sort the tickets. One other thing that we're doing with this information here is that we're applying conditional colors to the cards. So I'm selecting a color here, so it could be a different color. We could select, use the spectrum here. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to color red, this light red here, any card that is total score greater or equal to 200. So I set a threshold for a ticket becoming urgent. So if the total score surpasses 200, it's now considered an urgent ticket, right? So it's going to be colored red. One thing that I'm also doing here, live here. Okay, let's look at the filter. And one thing that I'm doing here for the filter is that I have this urgent button here, right? So it's kind of like the conditional color. Basically, what I'm saying here is that this button, when I click on it, it's going to filter records to show only records that are greater or equal to 200. Then I filter the Kanban board by the total score. Um, so in this way, we can set different thresholds, and we could also have like other conditional colors or other buttons here, right? I could have like something that is not urgent, but it's almost urgent. So it's like between 150 and 200, then it's yellow, right? So let's do this now. I think it's going to be a little bit clearer. So I'm changing this. I'm going to add a new color. So it's going to be light yellow here. And I'm going to say that only tickets with total score between 150 and 200. Let's go with 100 and 200 here. And you can see that it's already colored, right? So if it's between 800 and 200, it's going to color it yellow. So this is not a urgent ticket. Urgent tickets are only the ones with total score higher than 200, but these ones are tickets that I probably should be looking at as well, right? So yeah, basically the idea here is that you can use this, communicate with the client through the email feature here, and have this way of sorting things out. Don't know, Bruno, if you have any other thing that you want to show everyone.
No, I think the main idea was to show how to make a score, and then how to basically automate this process using the Canva color conditioning and also sorting and so on. But we could use the same process for a table, for any other kind of way that you want to use inside your app. It could be using a CRM or any other kind of situation if you want. The idea is more to show one way to do this, to create scores, and how to use these scores to visually help your users as well. So I think that's the idea for this live today. If you guys have any other questions or requests, please send to us and we'll bring this next week. Thank you guys. See you.
Uh,